Okay, we're good to go.
Stand right here.
Yeah. Okay, so we're live here again in North Philadelphia. We were just speaking with Jennifer Bennett, who announced that some homes owned by the Philadelphia Housing Authority, people in need of housing, have been moved into those homes. That's sort of some news that we just broke here a second ago. But so Jennifer is going to speak with us some more about some abandoned homes in the area and sort of the larger context of the situation. So yeah, Jennifer, can you just introduce yourself and remind us what's going on real quick?
Yeah, I'm Jennifer from Occupy PHA. I guess some of you were watching as I announced that we have been assisting families in locating vacant, viable public housing properties to live in during this pandemic. So we're over here right across the street from the $45 million Housing Authority headquarters where we just broke that news. And if you could look over here, these are all vacant public housing authority owned properties. Now our housing authority, as I said earlier, is processing applications from 2010 and has stopped taking applications in 2013. But there are just vacant properties. This is 3 right here. There's 2 more down there at the end. All of these lots are also owned by the housing authority. And right here, this neighborhood is called Sharswood, which this neighborhood, our housing authority received 2 choice neighborhood grants. Those are competitive grants. They only award 3 annually. They received 2 $30 million grants for this neighborhood for initiating, and they received 2 $1 million planning grants for this neighborhood. They claim that they leveraged these grants for about $200 to $255 million in funding through private investors and stuff like that. So I just want to show people why we took the step that we did, because our housing authority is getting all this money and all they're doing is building an empire. This is a choice neighborhood. So I just want to take people on a walk through a choice neighborhood. So right now we're on...
Do you want to we can cross the street and get closer if you want.
Right now we're on the 2000 block of Master Street in North Philadelphia. This is an area where the housing authority sees 1,330 properties through eminent domain. 850 of them were privately owned. They gave these homeowners, they said that $2,800 of the court paperwork at home was like just compensation for their property, their home that they lived in. Some of the properties that they seized through eminent domain, they had just sold at an auction a year before. So there are people who like purchased the property from PHA at the auction to fix up and make it into their home. And PHA came back a year later and seized the property. And these people had took out equity loans, lines of credit, because they have a 3-year period to bring those properties up to par. They took homes from committee people. They've devastated this neighborhood and just created a barren wasteland. And all they're doing is building an empire and just letting all of these strong brick houses. And these houses were not boarded up. A few weeks ago, they probably boarded them because I did like a Facebook Live and like walked into some of them to show how sturdy and viable they are, and that most of the damages in these homes are cosmetic. They need sheetrock, they need paint, they need floors, they need appliances because they have been removed or stolen because of being left vacant for so long. So now they're boarded up. That's another one over there, vacant, boarded up, strong brick PHA homes. They tend to intentionally neglect the roofs of the property because under HUD guidelines, like severe water damage is enough for them to deem the properties as non-viable. So even on my block, I'm a homeowner, but my neighbor is in a PHA property. They were just allowing her roof to turn into a swimming pool, and there's like a moldy, horrible room. And like I had to send like emails for them to deal with that because that's part of the intentional neglect. And then they forced the resident to move under the threat of eviction. And then rather than fixing the home, they sell it. They sell it, they auction it, or they sell it to a developer. So now we're coming down the 2000 block of Siebert Street. Now, mind you, we're in a choice neighborhood. There's been hundreds of millions of dollars spent in this neighborhood. The only manifestation of that we see is the headquarters. So this whole block was seized by PHA through eminent domain. This is a choice neighborhood. This is what our housing authority does. This is why we have to take the risk and move families into homes, because the benefit definitely outweighs the risk. This is unacceptable. This is a public health hazard. and it's disgusting. And these are homes that they seized. People used to live in these houses. These houses were lived in.
So this whole pile of trash we walked through, this is owned by PHA.
This whole
area.
block was seized through eminent domain. Yes, PHA owns this entire block.
So you've talked about how you say they're intentionally neglecting these properties. Some of the families that were previously homeless, that you or others have helped move into some of these homes. What kind of work happened before people were able to move in? Like, what's the bottleneck? What's the barrier?
A lot of roof. We had to do a lot of stuff on all the roofs. We found intentionally cut out pipes in some of the basements, which were and they had left the water on. Like, we didn't turn utilities on; they were already on, and they were like leaking, and the basements were like cluttered, and the properties were just sitting vacant. So, a lot of sometimes some of them would look like maybe they purposely tore them up. Like, they would have like holes in the sheetrock and the walls torn up, or just like weird stuff like that. But for the most part, outside of them letting them sit to fall into disrepair, they were really good homes, and they're 5 and 6 bedroom homes. And so yeah, that's
so is this?
They're getting rid of that.
So what? So is all this debris and trash here? Is this stuff that came from inside these homes?
No,
or,
no.
Okay. Is there dumping going on?
Yeah, people lived in these homes, and this block was very well maintained. Going on this block, and a lot of the debris is the same materials that a lot of these contractors are working with, which is probably why the housing authority won't address the issue. Because when there were 2 black scrappers that dumped on Lambert Street, the PHA police did a stakeout and arrested them and surveilled them and like watched them to catch them doing it. But this has been piling up for over a year now, and the neighbors have complained. I've complained. I've done a live video walkthrough. They just sit here, these viable empty homes, and just do this. But they just received another Choice Neighborhoods grant in April. It doesn't make sense.
So this mess that we just walked through here, you're saying this is like happening on properties owned and controlled by PHA, and we're a block from PHA's headquarters.
Yes, from their $45 million brand new headquarters that just opened a little over a year ago.
So what do you think that says about the state of the housing situation here in the city?
I think that it says what we've been saying all along, that the housing authority is intentionally blighting our neighborhoods so that they can justify the removal of people, like with the eminent domain. They seized the properties on the grounds of blight. But the thing was, all the blight was owned by them. They're the ones that owned the vacant properties in the lots that weren't being maintained. The people that lived in homes were taking care of them, and they were keeping their streets clean. So they're like intentionally creating this. And then later on, we watched them do it in some of the other neighborhoods. Later on, they'll clean it up after they subject us to having to live like this. They'll clean it up, and they'll come back and they'll do a video like we're doing right now and just brag, like, and they'll show this, like this didn't happen on their watch. And they'll be like, prior to PHA coming in after receiving the Choice Neighborhoods grant, Sharswood was this and this and that, but they're creating it and they're doing it. And so they're just intentionally doing this so that they can remove us and sell our privately owned residences and public housing units off to developers.
So now that today you've sort of announced and gone public with the fact that families without housing are being assisted in cleaning up and moving into some of these empty homes owned by the housing authority, are you expecting retaliation from the city? Have you experienced retaliation previously?
Yes,
are you worried about that?
Well, I'm basically a target, which is why I chose to be the one to make the announcement, and that to be from the front spotlight or whatever. Like, I'm a target because I've been doing this work, and the housing authority is a very powerful entity that's been able to operate with this sort of sovereign immunity where the city will tell you have to go to the state, and the state will tell you go to the federal government, and the federal government tells you go back to the city, and there's no accountability. So they don't like being accountable. They banned me from their board meetings. My home was actually firebombed in March of 2019. 2 days after they filed a motion to dismiss litigation that my family filed against them pro se about their private police. Their cops followed me. They send DHS after my children, claiming that I'm not a good parent. I said DHS court Wednesday. So yeah, I'm expecting retaliation, but like I said, the risk outweighs the benefit. I've sat here, I live in this neighborhood. I have watched this whole entire neighborhood flip through the sale of public housing units. Like, I watched campusification. Like, our neighborhood where I live is all Temple student dorms, where it was all public housing. Like, I know the people that lived in there. Like, I watched them flip everybody out of these neighborhoods, and I'm watching people not have a place to go. And I know there's hundreds of empty homes that just need a little bit of care, and people could have a home. And it's not saying anybody owes us anything. For all the people that say nobody owes us something, if we have a housing authority with a $400 million annual operating budget, and they've constructed a $45 million empire in the middle of our neighborhood, and they're paying themselves six-figure salaries, and we have an Office of Homeless Services that has a multi-million-dollar budget and a staff making all six figures plus, then they do owe us something. They owe us not to run us out of our neighborhood. They owe us that if they're not going to maintain their properties, that they sign it over to those of us that are willing to do so. They owe us that there shouldn't be an encampment on the parkway, and they're saying we're using homeless people as political pawns, but who looks like they're using people as pawns? There's houses everywhere. So to me, the risk outweighs the benefit, and I'm willing to be the one that takes the flag. None of this work was me, myself. There was a lot of hard work, planning, and effort put into all of this, but I'm the one here because I'm already the target, and I want to make sure that these families are protected before we continue doing it. I just want to see how the cookie crumbles, and make sure that I keep up my part of the deal to make sure that everybody's okay and this housing authority is held accountable, and that these families have a permanent place to call home. They've done more, and we've done more than this housing authority has done, and they've technically not committed a crime. They're operating under adverse possession, and they have removed blight, and they have become a neighbor and a part of a community, and they deserve to be able to continue on in the homes that they were in. And the rest of these homes just sitting like this need to be put in a land trust. It's clear. They're not going to do it. They're not going to house people. They're not going to focus on what their duty is. You've seen over at their building, they're advertising themselves like they're a for-profit real estate company. Why have they painted 30 feet of sidewalk green and blue with their logo? Why do they have a flag? Why do they have a $45 million headquarters? Poor people that need housing are going to show up. You're not advertising yourselves to us. Who are they even serving anymore? So
just in case anyone's watching now who missed the first half of our live stream, would you mind just sort of repeating?
Oh, sure.
People have been moving into some empty PHA-owned homes, or what's the deal with that?
So since March 23rd, members of Occupy PHA and the Workers Revolutionary Collective and a lot of other allies and supporters have been supporting families in identifying and locating vacant public housing properties that they could make a home in. These homes are vacant, they're viable, they're left unsecured, and they're a blight and a burden on the neighborhood. So I have been maintaining a list personally since about 2017 of PHA properties long-term vacant as they would go vacant. Some of them have already been sold off to developers at this point. And so through that list, when the pandemic hit, a lot of people were reaching out to different ones of us about the shelters being full or their children being immunocompromised and them being afraid to live in these congregate settings, or being separated from teenage children because they were too old. Just all different situations. And we just assisted and supported these families in locating these homes. They were vacant, they were viable, they were unsecured, and we helped fix them up. As I said, we never raised or received any money for doing this, and 10 homes were able to be made completely livable and nicer than my house with less than $1,000 total, and we have the receipts and the evidence. So it really goes to show how negligent the housing authority is in performing their duties.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing. I'm just going to walk over here on my own and take the live stream down in a second.
Cool.
I'll be right back. So thanks for watching, everyone. We're going to bring the stream down here in a second. This is Chris Sciano. I'm the Unicorn Riot reporter based in Philadelphia lately. I've been doing some of our other reporting from the area. So I just wanted to show you this area before we take the stream down. This is all... Some dumping's been going on in the area. I don't know if some of this debris is from these homes when people were evicted, but this is all what Jennifer Bennett is saying. These are all homes that are owned by the Philadelphia Housing Authority, and this is the state that PHA is leaving. At least this street on this neighborhood looks like this. And just right over there where we were live earlier, basically right there, just a block over there, is the PHA's big, shiny, very polished, huge sign, huge headquarters. I think it cost $45 million or something approaching that. So this is what exists just around the corner from the PHA headquarters. And so, yeah, Jennifer Bennett told us something that I have already known for a while and have been waiting to get the word that it's okay to report that families that didn't have housing have now been moved into at least 8 or 10 homes that are owned by the Philadelphia Housing Authority. Were empty despite being able to be used. Families, mothers and children, and other volunteers and supporters work together to make some of these homes viable. People are now living in many of these homes and have been, in some cases, since March, because people needed a safe place to have a sanitary environment and also just a place to live their lives during the pandemic. And so I actually visited one of those homes. We interviewed a mother that's living in one of them, and that's a video report I'm looking forward to sharing with everyone as soon as possible. It's not complete yet, but look out for it tonight or tomorrow. We'll be able to give you at least a partial glimpse of one of these homes owned by the Philadelphia Housing Authority, where people were tired of waiting. They tried to get homes and housing and shelter the official way. Their needs were not being met, and so they were able to work with other members of the community to identify empty homes and themselves go home by moving in, and so we hope to be able to show you some of that soon. I'm going to take the stream down now and get back to preparing that report to share with you all ASAP. If you want to see any of our past reporting on this, you can go to our website, unicornriot.ninja. And also just wanted to real quick shout out Jen from Unicorn Riot, different Jen than Jennifer Bennett, who we just interviewed, but thanks, Jen, for your help running the back end. Thanks to the whole Unicorn Riot studio team. It's just me out here holding the stream, but there's a team of us working usually all the time to make these things happen, to be able to bring this stuff to you. So, or on our Twitter, or our Facebook, or